What is keeping people from like crossbreeding this? Which is this even a Hello everybody and welcome to this week's video. I basically forgot to do an intro and didn't record it. This week's guest is again Matits. So thank you for him for joining in. We were talking about keeping the mesh lids on the terrariums. The video starts out randomly, but it does get better throughout it. So it's just a heads up to what we're actually talking about, so you know what the gist of the start of the video is, and later in the video stuff gets more and more clear. So thank you.
Least a bit of a spot where they can have a dry environment.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. If they are happy inside their enclosure, I don't think they should be. Maybe like if they explore, but if they start to bite at the top of the enclosure and the mesh, like this is the most common exoteras you can get for, I think it's not the best terrarium, but it's okay for tarantulas. I think it's fine, but yeah, it's the most common thing, and yeah, tarantulas climb on the side and bite the mesh, and people are worried the tarantula is gonna get stuck inside it. I don't think it's the best thing if they do, but yeah, make sure the tarantula has the proper environment, and I think it should be fine for them to climb on it. But if they're biting it, it's maybe a thing to think about and maybe change the enclosure. So let's move on to the next topic. Yeah, I mean, best beginner tarantulas. It's a most common thing people ask about when they buy spiders, when they do the research. It's I don't know, it's not like there is a best species known to man and people will just buy it because it's the best for everybody. I think there are some species that are better than others for beginners, but like I started my tarantula keepings with a Heteroscodra maculata that was sold to me as a Pterinopelma sesimi. So, you know, if you can keep that mentality and just buy what you're comfortable with, I think it's good. Like maybe focus on species that are new world. That is a good choice where to start with, and then look online what new world species are, what species are popular, and then just research. That's how I started with the hobby, in the first place. I watched Exotic Slayer. I'm not proud of it, but I did watch him like 3-4 months before I got the first spider. I didn't research through his videos, but I just researched what tarantulas I liked, and basically went from that. You just researched basically YouTube videos and then find out what spiders you like, what coloration you like, and then just go from there. I think new worlds are the best to start with, but to each on its own, to each of its own. Basically, you just pick what you want and then make so basically do a lot of research before you get a spider, and then just go with it, basically. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think like when I started like the hobby, it was like I think the first spider that you gave me was like so there was a Brachypelma auratum, and the other one was Murinus. So like one of it being like the most common star beginner species, and the other one being like the, I don't know, the hardest or whatsoever old world. But I figured that all the tarantulas are more or less the same if you keep them properly. I think uh, my mom is like the true example of that all tarantulas are the same, because she's never had tarantulas before me bringing her some, and she's been keeping like uh, most of my Pamphobeteus, most of Brachypelmas, and also like Cyriopagopus like Bachma and so on. Even Psalmopoeus, and she's never had a problem with any of them. She just does the same thing. She's cautious like about all of them, and it just turns out to be okay. So I think there's no thing as what is the best beginner species or what is the best, I don't know, but it's more or less like to what you prefer, what you want to have, and what kind of a spider you like, and then make it an environment that it's gonna feel okay in it, and it's gonna turn out just fine. Because if you keep it, I don't know, a Murinus in a environment that is big and he doesn't have to feel threatened, I think he's gonna move slow as a Brachypelma, you know? It's he's not gonna care if you're gonna open the lid or whatsoever, if he has his safe spot. But usually people that are you seeing on YouTube that Murinus is, I don't know, attacking them or being extra aggressive, I mean, they keep them in a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter, a full adult, and then they open the lid and he does a threat pose. I mean, what would you do if someone opened up your, I don't know, like an alien opened your bathroom and you were in it, and he would just like wiggle around with his fingers around you, you know? It's just like kind of really ordinary thing to defend your stuff, right? So yeah, I think that question is just a really annoying one for me.
I mean, maybe if I, and the more I think about it, maybe I wouldn't recommend starting with a maybe like a Vicularia species, because they require very specific moisture levels and humidity. So if you're scared about that, maybe don't pick that, because their enclosures do require specific like ventilation holes, so it keeps its airflow better, so the slings can survive easier. Because I see a lot of new tarantula keepers that just want grown, what is it, Caribena versicolor, and then it just dies randomly. It's not an easiest species to keep for beginners. So, and also expect that in the beginning, tarantulas, that's why I say maybe go for New World, because I know what new tarantula keepers are like. They want to look at the tarantula 24/7, and a lot of old world species don't really appreciate that, because they do like react to opening enclosures, and if you like try to poke them with stick or something, they do react on that, and some new world species don't. But that's pretty much it. What I'm seeing in the comments is like, oh, Caponopema cacodes, hardy species. It doesn't really matter as if it's hardy or not. If you do the research and you keep it the proper way, I think it's a good thing. But yeah, maybe try to avoid like what is it? What is the species do you have? Megaphobema. What is it?
Mesomelas.
Yeah, maybe that species, because it does require some moisture that is very specific. I don't I didn't read too much into it, but Matitz has. Maybe he'll share some thoughts. But yeah, maybe keep some species that don't require very specific humidity, maybe. But that's pretty much it, because if you do the research and you can keep tarantula in its proper environment, and also remember that tarantulas don't really care if you check on them 24/7, and they don't need constant care. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you pick. So yeah, that is, I think, our opinion. Do you have anything more to add?
No, nothing at all. Like, as you mentioned, like even that mesomelas. I mean, maybe I'm just super lucky to have the humidity by itself. If I would have lived in a drier environment, maybe then I would like have a hard time keeping up all those tarantulas. But yeah, I mean, it's not that I do something special. Like there's certain stuff like very arid species, maybe like brachypelmas and stuff. They in my apartment they do much worse than all of the high requirement tarantulas. So that's why I moved them as well to my mother's place. But that you are living in, and then consider your spider.
Yeah, agreed. What is the next thing? I think this is a topic that I do talk about with new keepers and tarantulas, and maybe it's worth just mentioning it with a quick glance. Is it worth keeping male tarantulas? In my opinion, when new people come to the hobby and want to handle tarantulas just because they want to, of course, I don't support tarantula handling at all. I have 2 tarantulas right now that I handle, but I don't handle them on daily basis. I basically handle them when I'm at the fair, showing the tarantulas to people, and then maybe when my niece, who is 12, wants to handle it, but it's not even on a monthly basis. So I don't support handling them. But people come to like tarantula sales people, and they're just like, oh, I want to buy a tarantula. I want my 4-year-old to cuddle it and touch it and move it around and handle it. I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea. But they do keep pressuring you about, oh, which tarantulas is better to keep and which is the better to handle. And in my opinion, it's maybe a controversial opinion, male tarantulas are chiller. They don't react as much as females, but that can be just speculation and based on my experience, so don't quote me on that. But in my experience, I had like 5 tarantulas in total who I handled. Like I had more, but handled more than 2 times when I needed to. And 4 out of 5, they were males. Just because when you touch them, they don't react too much, and then you try to handle it because you need to show tarantulas is nice, and it's much nicer. It's like a selling point. But yeah, I don't agree with handling. But in my opinion, tarantula males are easier to handle if you need them to handle. I don't know why, but if you need them to handle, it's easier. And also, for a lot of kids who just buy tarantulas and have low interest, mothers usually buy tarantulas for them, and usually buy as males so they don't live as long as females. You might think it's weird, but mothers basically know the son or daughter is not going to be interested in the spider or tarantulas for like 15-20 years. and just want a male tarantula who's gonna keep for like 5 or 10 years, if that makes sense. They don't want a long-term spider, but they don't want they do want a pet they can keep for 5 years, if that makes sense. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're the one that's doing most of the sales in our country, so I've seen a lot of what you're doing, and it's definitely true that mothers usually, or dads, let's say parents, they usually try to get a tarantula, but also have a tarantula that's not gonna live as long as, I don't know, females will. So they usually pick up the males, because you know how kids are. They like tarantula this day, and then uh, the next day they want to have a fish, and then they want to have a dog, and so on. And the tarantula will be forgotten, and it's gonna be a burden only for the parents to keep it up. So I think you've also mentioned that usually then people can also bring it back to you because
Yeah.
they are. So yeah, it's definitely a fact. But if we go back to the point of arachnoboards, of keeping a male tarantula or a female tarantula, I mean, for handling purposes, definitely adult males, they're the easiest. Like, I would probably put my hand in the fire. I mean, that's the saying in Slovenia, but like that, none of the adult males are actually going to try to bite you at any certain point. They don't even want to eat when they adult up.
Yeah.
So maybe the handling those is the easiest. I don't handle my tarantulas, except when my mom is asking me to, if the Brachypelma auratum male is still as kind as he was. So I just pick up the auratum and I show it to her that he's totally fine, because she's always like asking if he's gonna be that nice forever, because he's so let's say calm and non-aggressive. So yeah, I mean, that's about it from my point of handling. Like, I don't do it, and it's if I would have had to do it, I would pick a male. So
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely different when they're matured out, because I think I have experience with that. I have a Arizona blonde male that I got from England when it was still available, I think in 2019-20, before Brexit, definitely. And he is the most handleable tarantula I ever had, and I ever will, because he was touched and like handled by, I think, like 10,000 people at fair and at like certain events, and it was totally fine. There was never any problem with it. But since he matured out, it's kind of weird handling them. So I don't know. Do what you think. But yeah, male tarantulas, maybe if you're like a mother who wants to buy a pet for a kid who's not really interested in anything else, but maybe tarantulas give him some joy. Look for maybe, I don't know. Most of the buyers do buy like Cleitocatus or Brachypelmas because they are chiller species, but it's not certain for a lot of them. So I think that's just that. Okay, let's move on to, I think, second to last topic. I think it's a quick overlook. Cricket in why do people, I don't know, did you feed crickets anytime in your like keeping tarantulas time? Did you keep any crickets and feed tarantulas with crickets or no? I don't actually know.
so is the Turkish crickets as well what you're asking, or no? Like the red ones?
No, that's not crickets. It's just crickets.
Okay. I mean, I bought crickets, like, but I decided to not use them because one or two escaped, and then my wife was very mad about it, and we had to like lure it out. So I don't use crickets because they are very loud. Um, and I'm living in an apartment, so we don't can't really put them somewhere. Um, but as long as I've had them, like I've never had troubles with them doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of horror stories that people who keep crickets with their tarantulas, that basically if tarantula is molting, cricket will actually eat it. Um, I don't really have that case for myself because I kept crickets for a while back in the day when I started to keep tarantulas, and it's just like crickets die out very easily, and also if they escape they crawl into small spaces, and they live for much longer than they should have, and they just make noise at night, and it's very annoying. So that's why I don't keep crickets, because I don't really breed them for feeding. Well, how else would you describe that? Because I just roaches are much easier to keep and breed for tarantulas, and crickets are just a mess, in my opinion. They are cheap, but it's like, I don't know, it's just not the best. And yeah, also I seen and heard a lot of horror stories for like if the tarantula is molting and you don't know that when it's molting, cricket can actually hurt it, because it's just a cricket. I never seen a case with like a roach eating molting tarantulas, but I think it's just I don't think that happens. So yeah, keeping crickets, if you like to keep crickets, good for you, but I'm not the guy who will ever represent people who keep crickets in the tarantula hobby, so not for me. Okay, so the next topic I do want to talk about, and I think it's very important to have Matits with me in this call, is that people don't really like to keep tarantula species that are not confirmed. He does keep a lot of Pamphobeto species that are not confirmed. Yeah, in my opinion, I think the tarantula hobby is becoming better and better, but I think it's still a mess, and a lot of species that are just existing and were introduced into the hobby are unknown species that we don't know much about. I mean, I am just searching through very fast through a tarantula shop, and you can see what I'm talking about. My example is this Kilobrachys species, South Thailand blue. What is that? It's not electric blue, because the abdomen of electric blue is brown. The legs are, I don't know what, I don't even know. It's weird. It looks kind of like a birupes, but doesn't really look, because the abdomen is totally different. So I don't know. I don't keep many species that are just a species, but I think Matits have more of a connection with the tarantulas that are not confirmed. So you can tell
Yes,
about it.
so I keep like a lot of species because I really like Pamphobetius. So Pamphobetius is one of the top species kind of tarantulas that all of the people are talking about, right? So there's like plenty of undescribed species in the hobby for the past 20 years or more. And I've decided to keep them all, even though they are not described. It gets on my nerves like sometimes, but I think with time there's gonna be a lot more confirmed species of Pamphobeteus, and some might be as well already described but not yet connected to this species that we're so calling species, right? So I think last year there was like 7 new described species of Pamphobeteus, which then might be one of the species that we already have in the hobby, but currently sold as undescribed species. So why am I actually doing this is because I really like the look of the Pamphobeteus. They're all being very unique. So yeah, I have some that are confirmed, like Pamphobeteus ultramarinus here, and some species that are not confirmed, like Manga Negra, Costa, Cascada, then Nigricolor, and so on, like Machala, obviously, because it's very popular at the moment and very cheap to come across. Um, I think keeping them or continuing to keep and buy more of them is just because I'm buying them from reputable sellers who know the oranges or origins of those species and where they come from. Like it would be a different scenario if I were to buy from, I don't know, like let's say expos and all that stuff, because there are many sellers that are not acknowledged, and maybe they could have sold me something that is totally different from what they are describing it to be. I think I also have like uh, I think I bought in Verona Expo. I think I bought like a species Goliath, which actually, if you check, it's the same as Santo Domingo Goliath. And so I was really researching into this, because on the internet you could have buy Santo Domingo Goliath, but he was selling it as Goliath. So at the end of the day, I was talking to a lot of like keepers of Amphibeteus, which said at the end of the day that those are two as a different label. So there could be like really tough points where you actually don't know what you actually have, but I'm trying as soon as I get one to really connect the dots and see what I have. And it's been fine. I mean, till now, I don't really experiment with something that's really new. For example, there's a lot of species that are like, I don't know, just named with some weird names. I don't know. Maybe you could go into the page of Amphibeteus, maybe on this shop.
I remember we talked about it. It's like species Paisa or Paisa, whatever it is.
Yeah,
And
like
yeah, it's somewhere here.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point, and I do also think that you can take the tarantula buying as online as well as in real life. What I mean by that is that if you're buying online, you don't know if the seller is actually knows what he's selling, and if you're buying in real life and in expos, you can feel that the person on the other side knows what he's actually talking about, and you can feel that through the conversation. I can be online and said to this seller, are you selling the actual spider? What is this species I never seen before? And he's gonna be like, yeah, I got it from Poland or something. And it's like, what is it? You can't really research it. And then maybe in real life, some sellers who actually know what they're selling can give you some pointers. And yeah, I think through time, people will actually, and the researchers will actually rewritten some species, like they're doing with Pomphobetos, like they're doing with what is it? The species Hapalopus gorilla, which was Hapalopus something else, which was also just a species. That they are rediscovering them. It's gonna take time, but we have to have patience because I don't think there's a lot of people in the Tarantula world who are willing to get into nitty gritty of the hobby and just research the spiders and actually make a difference. There are some, like I think Andrew Smith, but he's getting um, older, so we don't know if like he's gonna be researching like for 10 more years on the field. But yeah, I think maybe afterwards people or researchers can take his approach and maybe ask for people who are the lovers of the tarantula hobbies to fund the research, so they don't rely on side projects and getting the money through some different organizations, and maybe it will get easier, who knows. But yeah, that's what we're talking about, like Litocatlis species goldenback. I'm also guilty of this because I did buy it at Sloik, so I don't know what it is. When I asked the seller, and he is actually a seller who knows what he's selling, he told me that it's like a Kölnbergi with a more golden carapace. So, I mean, it is what it is, but maybe it will become a totally new species, and for now it's a sling. But in 10 years, when it becomes a species, I do already have a new species of Deritocatlis. So yeah, who knows what will happen in the future, but hopefully researchers will do their like of the terrain work and reread some of the species that are still having problems. You have anything more to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would add this, like, if we're talking about species, like, there's two big differences in it. There's a species, let's say, Pamphobetia species solaris, which is actually, like, you can spot a huge difference between them and other Pamphobetia species.
Yes.
So we can surely say that the hobby is not gonna confuse this spider with something else, right?
Yes, I
But
totally.
the problem comes when there's like a few species that are exactly the same looking, and they have a different, like, if you put it through the microscope and you check their like bulbous and stuff like that, like measure it out, measure the spermatica and that's so on. Let's say, for example, Machala nigricolor, then even Goliath, as you're checking it out, then Insignis, like those species, males look so identical that it's actually really hard for a normal keeper to just like distinguish them. So that's where the confusion comes out of, right? Like, it's very easy to I'll just say it like this: if you were to put 5 of those species that look very similar to each other,
Yeah.
and you were to put them in boxes, and you mix those boxes without knowing which one is which's,
Yeah.
then you would actually not know which species you're holding in. It's not like you're watching on Brachypelma auratum and Brachypelma bohemi,
Yeah.
but you're actually watching two same spiders, like, straight on, and that's where it becomes confusing. So that's why Pamphobitius genus is so hard to keep up with and so annoying to keep if you are not careful of what you're getting into, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there was another topic that we wanted to discuss about keeping Pamphobitius ultramarinus, right?
Yeah.
Because you just opened it up. So
It's a topic about, is it worth keeping the spider? I think I close it, doesn't matter. Basically, it's I think, in my opinion, it's the most distinct and prettiest Pomphobetus species that I've seen personally, and it is very distinct, and purple coloration. Is this a tarantula femur? I forgot. Is it the actual name on the first leg part? Is that a femur, or is the second part the femur?
I would know neither. Like, I'm not so.
Because because the Phromictopus green femur has this part green, so I think that is actually called the femur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very pretty species. I think you mentioned to me that you got it.
Yeah, I just recently picked it up, and it's currently doing well. I would say I bought it for 100. So if I were to say, like, if you don't know if you want to get into Pamphobeteus or don't know how to get into Pamphobeteus, I think Ultramarinus is the best thing to pick up because it's a confirmed species.
Yes.
It's very unique looking, and it might not be as big as other Pamphobeteus, but at least you've got something really unique, right? So I think Pamphobeteus ultramarinus is the smallest one out of all the Pamphobeteus.
Adult one. Adult live stream.
I think it's like 6 to 7 inches. Like, it's for sure the smallest one that there is.
I mean, is it really a bad thing? I don't think it is.
No, it's not a bad thing, but some people are like going into Pamphobeteus just to have a really massive spider. But usually at Pamphobeteus you also get a really massive spider that is just brown if you got a female. But at Ultramarinus she's gonna keep the colors. So that is very unique for a Pamphobeteus, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a confirmed species as well. So if you have any prejudice that like I have for like a species that is not confirmed, I think it's a great place to start with. I also like to add, so this is like the final point of the video. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. What I'd like to add is that tarantula hobbyists and everything messed up the species part before. We have that in Clitocatl genus, which I don't know if a lot of people research this, but Clitocatl was before a Brachypelma genus, and it did involve like 20 spiders, something like that. And then people started to crossbreed them because they thought, what was it, Clitocatl albopilosus, right?
Yeah.
They thought that the Honduran form and the Nicaragua form are the same species, and also they crossbreed this. So like 20 years ago you couldn't really get through actual Nicaragua form, and then they crossbreed other brown spiders with Brachypelma species like Hamori, like Ibiceps, like Bami, and then they made a mess. So when was the Clitocatl genus actually done? Like 5 years ago now?
Yeah, somewhere around that. Like probably at the point when you started, or maybe a bit.
No, it was a bit later because I did. No, something like that. Yeah, you're maybe correct. Like in 2020, something like that. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, people did crossbreed them because they look the same, and then they started to name them species. I did research this, so they did started to name them like Brachypelma species this, Brachypelma species that, and that's why they did the revision. and made it a Tliltocatl genus. So there are a bunch of Tliltocatls, and there are 9 brachypelmas, and like Tliltocatls are like 9, and some of the Tliltocatls went into Sericopelma genus. So yeah, that's why maybe some people don't like that they buy species of tarantulas that is not confirmed, because maybe people did crossbreed them and we don't actually know what species it is. Maybe that's, I think, my biggest problem with them, because what is keeping people from like crossbreeding this, which is this even a confirmed thing, or is just like a name they put it on the spider and just say that's it?
I think I mean Spicer has been there for a long time, but if you go back,
Yeah.
like you can actually see that, let's say, Pamphobitius species Oreana above are like
Yeah.
80 euros. Like this one is completely new to me. Like it's something that I've never seen before, and usually um the spiders that are new are usually like really costly, right?
Yeah.
So you see like this 80 euros for a sling. Like this is kind of a cost, let's say the higher cost spiders for L1 in Europe. In America it would be like 400, let's
Yeah,
say.
like that.
But here layer 1 spiders are like 80 to 100 is a lot for a layer 1.
Yeah.
So these are like something new that's been imported. I would probably wait out to pick this one up. I usually pick up the ones that are already I've seen a lot of on Arachnoboards, YouTube, and so on.
Yeah, my point is that, yeah, don't, maybe if you have, like, if you don't like the species, maybe do the research, talk to the breeders in person and see how old the species is. And maybe it just hasn't been named the proper species. Maybe some researchers didn't actually take time to do it, and not buy the species when it first comes to the market. Because yeah, who is keeping this species from being something completely else in Pemphobetos, but they just crossbred it and people don't know the origin of it. That's my problem with the whole species thing, is because just people want to breed as much spiders as possible, and that doesn't keep them from crossbreeding species. And then the new species comes, which is crossbred, and people don't want to officially put the name of it because it's crossbred, and you can't really prove it's crossbred because it just comes from breeders. So maybe I think that's the reason, because like you can see that the names are sometimes very stupid. I like, what is Crimson Mask? What is that?
Yeah, this one is probably the worst one out of all that, right?
Yeah, I think I've shown in the video before, like Kilobrachys tropical blue was a species I've seen before, and Corizon something blue was also a Kilobrachys species. It's weird. Like Matitz mentions, maybe do the research and talk to the breeders and buy only the species that you trust the sellers are genuine and are not crossbreed, and you will have more of a successful thing. And then maybe in a few years, like it happened with Guerilla, Hapalopus guerilla species, and which species was which species of Pomphobeto was scientifically renamed? Do you have any examples?
So that it was renamed recently.
Yeah.
Like there's none of the ones that are actually.
Oh, if you maybe know on top of your head.
It's gonna take a bit of time.
It's okay. Editor can cut it.
Gangotenai. So it's G-A-N.
G-A. This?
Tenai. So minus E and E. So this should be like the species.
Okay, so yeah, this species, when was it? 2023. So yeah, before it was just a species name, and now it's actually a confirmed species. How like even you can see even the Google thing doesn't really recognize it because it's just giving me this was probably the name before. So yeah, but this became a confirmed species. So yeah.
Yeah, but there's no pictures because it's not connected to any of the species in the hobby. It's not. So yeah, like there's a lot of them, but they're not connected to hobby lists.
But yeah, like we mentioned, hopefully the researchers will make more and more tarantulas that are actually confirmed, and the hobby, I think, will be the better place for it. So I think this is gonna be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Matits, thank you for joining as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for giving us the Pamphobetos knowledge that I lack of very much. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye bye.
Ciao.